So, about the 2023 Kia Telluride SX Prestige X Pro. This is awesome. So, if you've watched my channel at all, you probably know and remember that we own a 2022 Kia Telluride SX Prestige. New for 2023 is the X Pro, which gives it a slight lift, these all-terrain tires, smaller wheels, some other nice appearance things, increased towing capacity, increased cooling ability, some just minor things like that. And you also, with 2023, aside from the X Pro availability, you get these redesigned grille, rear grille, the bumpers, the fascia, the lettering, the lights even, which is kind of controversial. I'm surprised they didn't keep the iconic amber halo lights on the SX and EX of the previous, not generation, but the previous iteration of the Telluride. But in short, I love this thing, and I know there's pretty strong opinions about what is the best three-row family SUV out there without venturing into full-size territory. But I gotta say, the Telluride is right up there. And if you honestly spend some time in it and give it an honest go, I think you'll be quickly won over by just the excellent value that this thing is. So all totaled, with the X Pro package and everything else, the Prestige, the Napa leather, all the stuff, it tops out about 55,000 bucks, which is about $5,000 more than our 2022 SX Prestige was. So prices have gone up a little bit. I still think this is a very solid value, and if you were to splurge and spend all 55 grand on a Telluride with all those options, you're going to be really happy. This is a phenomenal vehicle, and it comes with a 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. You get a bumper-to-bumper warranty for 5 years or 60,000 miles. That's pretty competitive. That's really good. So I'm going to show you around a little bit, show you some things that I've loved, some things that I maybe questioned, but overall, the Telluride is well deserving of all of its praise. So just to point out some of the new exterior features of the Telluride for 2023, here on the X Pro, you have this kind of metallic-y trim around the grille and the lower part of the bumper. I know this has been very controversial, and I will be honest and think I don't know that the Telluride needed much of an exterior refresh. I still think it looked pretty good. And then you do have new headlights, these two vertical kind of strips there, and gone is the beautiful amber halo light, daytime running light that used to be there that a lot of people loved and I think is really cool. But it still looks good. It still is a very stylish SUV. You're definitely feel like it looks almost premium, and it's especially nice from the side profile and the rear three-quarter view. I do appreciate the, you know, I don't know if you want to say security, but the thicker sidewall tires. Our SX Prestige with the Nightfall package has those larger wheels and smaller Michelin primacy tires, or sometimes you do get a little nervous about going over potholes and stuff, but with this, yeah, there's no worrying, which I like that. I prefer the thicker sidewall tires. Gives it a little better ride too, I think. But any way you go with the Telluride, it's gonna feel really great. So there's the new lettering, slightly revised font. There's your X Pro badge. And aside from that, now it's interesting, this paint too is really cool, but in the sun, it definitely looks a little brighter, like more blue than it does right now, and it's a little overcast in the evening. So anyway, there's your look at the revised exterior of the 2023 Kia Telluride. So another thing to note is that gone are the buttons you push in. It just thinks I'm trying to lock it because the key's in there. But you just have those sensors now. Beautiful interior. Like, this feels just top quality. I mean, it really does. Sitting in it, looking at it, the materials, it really feels like it's competing at a price much higher than this MSRP would suggest. And I know that there is still markups on these, and whether it's worth it to pay it or not is going to be a decision you got to make. But I will say that it looks and feels excellent. These seats are very comfortable. The stitching is really cool. That's been updated for 2023. That terracotta is an extra $300, I think, but I love that brown and the contrast with the black and the grays and the metal, and oh, it just looks so good. So really the centerpiece of this new 2023 model is the digital gauge cluster that extends into the infotainment screen. And I think it looks really beautiful. I think they've done a nice job. It is a little more, it's like smaller and more condensed than like in our 2022 Kia Telluride. So you can't see the gauges quite as well through the steering wheel here. I suppose if you were to move this up more into like a bus-like driving steering wheel position. But overall, it looks just very nice. And like this wood trim here, this nice little shelf's the perfect place to rest your hand as you kind of select things on the touchscreen. And it just, I can't overstate just how good it looks and how nice it feels. So coming into the second row, as with any Telluride, there's tons of room back here. So me sitting behind myself, I've got a lot of room. I can just really lounge out, and it's very comfortable. Nice seating position in the rear. Beautiful. There's a better look at that dash. It's just so cool with that long screen. It's very modern, very upscale. That beautiful leather, the blacks, the browns, the metallics. They've updated USB-C here instead of just standard USB. You got your charging ports down there as well. You have their sunshades there you can pull up. Ventilated and heated seats in the rear, and both features work very, very nicely. And then of course you have the amazing third row here in the Telluride that, look at that, with the seat all the way back. I'll get back there and show you the room I have, but the engineering that went into this, the packaging is just incredible. I don't know how they did it, but it's phenomenal, and it's way better than even many SUVs that I've been in that are larger than this. So to get into the third row, you can either press this button, or there's one up here. It's super easy. You just press that. Slides forward. Very easy to get back into. So that's not all the way back, but I mean, I've got lots of room back here. It's very comfortable. There's your 1, 2 moonroofs. There's your rear vent controls. Very cool. Nice. Now here's me behind that second row with that all the way back, and I'm still just fine. I've got maybe an inch, but it's way better than a lot of the other third rows that I've been in. So to exit, just press this button, slides forward, piece of cake. Coming into the storage, the cargo compartment, you can see that you've got nice bit of storage there behind the third row. Like, you can fit way more back here than I said in some of the even larger vehicles behind their third rows. And then underneath here, you do have quite a bit of extra storage. There's your sunshade storage. You can get that out, obviously, and you're left with a nice, pretty deep bin for hiding all the treats from the kids. So as far as creating even more storage space, just simply pull that strap and boom, easy as that. I don't need any motors. They take forever anyway. I like just pull this strap. I can just push it down and woo, tons of space. We've been on so many road trips in the Telluride. I can tell you right now, you've got plenty of space for all your stuff. If you've got 2 kids, this is the perfect road trip vehicle. All right, so this will be kind of an interesting review for me because we own, like I said in the intro, a 2022 Kia Telluride SX with the Prestige package and the Nightfall package, and we have absolutely loved that vehicle. If you haven't yet watched that review from when we had it early on in our ownership, I'll also be posting, or have posted at this point, I'm not sure if it's been done, but our comparison with our 2022 Kia Telluride with a 2023 Hyundai Palisade, which, if you know anything about the Palisade, you know it's very similar to the Telluride. And so it's been really cool to spend some time in this updated 2023 Kia Telluride. I'll be honest, I didn't really think that the Telluride was in need of a refresh, but it's kind of cool that Kia did it, I guess. As I've kind of already pointed out, you have, the revised front grille and front headlights. I'm still not quite sure why they abandoned the awesome amber halo lights. Like, those are still one of my favorite features on our 2022 Kia Telluride. And as from what I've gathered from talking with others, that's one of their favorite features as well. Aside from that, though, those exterior kind of updates, there are some very minor things, like, of course, the grille. The headlights are probably the most obvious. The Telluride badging on the rear is slightly different. The grille itself, the lower front fascia, the lettering is slightly different. In 2022, they changed over to the new Kia logo, or the KN logo, as some people think it says, but it's actually Kia, it's not KN. But I personally like the design. I think it's a cool new logo. This X Pro is slightly lifted, has more towing capacity, comes with obviously much more thicker all-terrain tires. Whereas the standard Telluride like ours, the 2022, if the Nightfall package, comes with just your standard Michelin Primacy all-season tires. And so this is going to be a little bit more capable off-road, although this still isn't going to be something that I'm going to be taking on anything crazy. Although I've seen some videos like Ben Hardy, Sarah and Tune, like they've taken this Telluride, the X Pro, over some pretty fairly crazy stuff, and so it's actually more capable than you might think, but still probably not my choice for going off-roading, but you can if you want to. And for the interior, there's been some slight tweaks, and overall, I think it is a really nice update. The stitching on the seats here in the SX is different, more of like an arrow-like design, which I think looks good. I don't know that it's necessarily better. It just looks different, which is cool, keeps it fresh. Some of the USB ports are now USB-C, like the ones on the back of the seat right here, which is still very cool. The little compartment down where the wireless charging pad has been slightly reconfigured, where I do think it fits your phone better, especially if you're laying it like portrait, vertical, instead of having to lay it horizontal. And so that's new, that's kind of cool. And of course, the big update for this is the dash. The infotainment / digital gauge cluster is it is two different screens, but it's kind of combined into one screen, and it looks very clean, very nice. It really kind of elevates the interior, especially with this gorgeous brown leather, the dark charcoal suede, it's basically black suede you have. This is an outstanding looking interior, and I think it looks just as classy with the combination of this wood trim and the metals and the buttons and the blacks, and it's just so well done. I mean, for 55 grand, and it's not cheap, but this is pretty good for that money. I mean, I know it's a very different vehicle, but just one of the vehicles that is top of mind right now, because I was just in it recently, is the new Land Rover Defender, which is awesome. I love that thing. But this interior, in a lot of ways, even feels nicer than that did, and that was a lot more money. I mean, it's a totally different car, right? But this is pretty compelling, which leads me to my main thoughts about the Telluride, which, if you've watched any of our other videos on our ownership experience of the Telluride, we'd say the same thing. But this is such a fantastic vehicle. I mean, the Telluride has won all sorts of awards, and it's absolutely deserving of the praise it gets. It's such an excellent value. I mean, it comes with a crazy long warranty. It's so comfortable. I mean, tons of space and comfort for here. In our Telluride, we've put over about 17,000 miles on that thing, with probably 10,000 of those miles road trip miles. And I mean, it's a fantastic car for road trips. It's phenomenal, like no complaints. The Palisade, if you're interested in the Palisade, I think does have more comfortable seats. They're very soft, very plush. These are certainly more firm than the seats in the Palisade, but they're very comfortable regardless. The middle row, there's tons of room for kids and adults, kids in child seats as well. There's room for adults and children in booster seats, at least in the third row. Like, my wife sits in the very back, the third row, all the time when we have, or I do, when we have our parents come with us somewhere. And she or I, we're totally comfortable. We're both 5'9", and like if the second row did need to move forward, you can slide it forward. But even as is, like it's just one of the best third rows in the business. The luxury features are wonderful. All of the safety, driving assist work very well. The ventilated seats are excellent. The heated steering wheel is still one of the best. The heated seats are still some of the best I've felt. The dual moonroof is very classy. There's honestly, and I mean, I've put with our car and with this one and the Palisade, I've put well over probably like 18,000 miles on in these things. So I feel like I'm pretty familiar, and I just got to say, like, it's just a fantastic car. Like, just go buy one and be happy. You really won't be disappointed. Unless you are looking for something that's really off-road capable, then go buy a 4Runner. I love the 4Runner, as you know. I owned one. I had a TRD Pro. It was just incredible. One of my favorite cars I've ever owned. But like for family hauling business, this is where it's at. So as far as any like potential negatives go, and they're not really even negatives, but first of all, it's a totally subjective thing, but the exterior styling I think looks still amazing. But for me, I actually still prefer the front fascia and the front grille of our 2022 Telluride than this revised and updated 2023. Like I said, I don't know that it was really needing of that much of a refresh, but they did it anyway, and to each their own. I know some people who prefer the 2023 over the 2022 and previous years, but it's just going to be what you want. Now, the only real negative that I have with the Telluride, and by virtue of extension, the Palisade, is just the powertrain. It's not bad. I want to make that clear. It's not bad, but this V6, and I've said this from day one, if the Telluride or the Palisade came with the Stinger engine, that 3.3, I think it's 3.3 liter turbocharged V6, if it came with that, this thing would be amazing, like perfect. I would happily pay, Kia, if you're watching, I would happily pay $3-4 more grand to have that engine in here. It would just really liven it up. It'd make it pretty fun. I know this isn't meant to be super fun, but this V6 is good. It's just not quite great. It just kind of feels a little sluggish and just kind of pokey at times. It'll move when you want it to move, but this, and its pairing with this transmission, it's fine. It's just not, it doesn't feel quite as like on the same level of excellence as the entire rest of the vehicle. So just kind of go into it knowing that. Lastly, as it relates to the powertrain, again, it's not like a huge deal, but like you are buying a larger SUV, it's all-wheel drive. It's this one especially, it's been a little bit lifted, has those beefier tires. Fuel economy is not amazing. I've put a few hundred miles on this thing, about almost 300 miles or so, 250, and I've been averaging 17.9 miles per gallon, and most of that has been on the freeway. In our Kia Telluride at home, that's about the same what we've received too. Most of our driving when we're not on road trips in our Kia Telluride is just around town, short little stints to the grocery store, to carpool, whatever. And we always usually seem to get like 15 or 16 miles per gallon. It's just not great. And so like our Toyota Land Cruiser that we had for years and years and years got worse than that, but it was like 11 or 12 miles per gallon. And thinking that had like a big V8, it was really heavy and like old. This feels like kind of like a head scratcher as to like, why does it get so bad? Like, let's just have the option for that turbocharged engine, and that would be so sweet. Twin turbocharged, I think it is. Anyway, so that's gonna wrap up my thoughts for this Telluride. It's so good. Like, if you've been like, is it really as good as people say it is? It truly is. Like, for the money, I genuinely can't think of a better family hauler. Even like minivans are so good because of the sliding doors, and they have even more space if you fold down all the seats. But even some of those minivans comparably loaded to this are more expensive than this. And so I can't really bring myself to even buy a minivan. And this looks so stylish to boot. Like, go get one. Like, get on a list. These are still selling for over MSRP in a lot of places. And I can see why the demand is so high, because it's truly an excellent vehicle. And I still think it's the top dog. I mean, we own one, so that tells you something. And anytime I think, oh, should I sell it? Should I get something different? There's nothing really to replace it with, unless I wanted to go spend, for me to like upgrade, it would probably mean me spending like $85,000 to get like a Tahoe or a Suburban high country. And you know, you get their amazing MagneRide suspension, the air suspension, all that stuff. They're very cool, but for 50, 55 grand, this is a heck of a car, and you're not going to regret taking your family around in this at all. Like, buy one, be happy, and hang on to it, because there's really nothing to replace it with. It's just phenomenal. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed. Hope this helps. If you have questions about the Telluride, hit me below in the comment section, and happy to help in whatever way I can. Love these cars, obviously. So thanks for commenting, subscribing, you know, all that usual stuff, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks.